Hello, everybody. Welcome to Facts at Five. I'm Michael Clark. I'm here at the LTV Media Center in Wayne-Scott, New York, and would like to welcome my guest for today, Town Supervisor Peter Van Scoyoc. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Everything's going well here, but not so well on the outside, right? It seems that we're kind of falling back into a routine here. It's funny, when we used to do Facts at Five every day, when we were doing the daily thing, and when we switched off to doing one at a time, we said back then that, hey, you know what? There's a real good chance that we might be having to do a daily show and updating everybody with news information on COVID come November or December. And then all of a sudden, here we are in November and December coming up, and sure enough, the numbers are going up. So I know that you got a little bit and you got a little information on that for us. So why don't you share us your thoughts and where you think we might be headed?
Well, while New York managed to bend the curve down in the springtime, by mid-May, our numbers were declining, and then pretty much flatlined throughout the whole summer. The town's done very well. New York's done well. The rest of the country's just been blowing up, and now we're seeing the rise in New York again. It was anticipated that there would be a second wave or resurgence once colder weather came along, once schools reopened and started again. And, that has been the case. Our infection rate in East Hampton is still pretty low. The county daily total actually exceeded what the town's total has been from the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow.
So the other day, the daily total was like 324 cases in the county in a single day. That was up from an average of somewhere around 50 a day. 50 to 100. It's about 4+ times higher in the last 3 weeks. And here in East Hampton, we've had a number of little mini outbreaks, I guess you'd say. There were 15 cases that were traced to a party at the high school. I guess the good news is that we're not seeing transmission cases within the schools. The transmission is happening outside in social events out of school.
That's a real good point. Maybe we could just stick there for a second, Peter, because in watching Steve Ballone, the county executive, on a Zoom this week, he was putting a lot of emphasis on these individual super spreaders, and it sounds like that's kind of what you're talking about as well. And I guess it's a good thing that we've fine-tuned it, or we're able to track these things. So it's not like it's just coming out of nowhere.
Right.
But now the key is how do we stop those, right?
Yeah, that's the importance of the contact tracing and testing, and having wide testing and tracing is so important to understanding where you might be getting outbreaks and how to respond to them. We've seen. I got a call from Rich Burns, the superintendent of East Hampton School District, saying that they had cases in the 4th and 5th grade that popped up. And out of an abundance of caution, I shut down the remaining youth soccer program for the remainder of the season out of an abundance of caution.
Right.
That was on Monday afternoon. I notified the board that I had taken that step and discussed it at the work session as well on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday afternoon, we get the word from the governor that they're stepping back on restaurants. Restaurants as of Friday at 10 p.m. will now be closed and going back to takeout, curbside only, no in-person dining. Bars, taverns, restaurants, no in person.
Wow.
So that's the wrong direction. It's probably a necessary step given the increase in cases. And again, we just can't overemphasize the fact that people need to continue being vigilant and sanitizing services, disinfecting your hands, wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, stay away from groups of folks as much as you can. And with the holidays coming on, this is another whole aspect. Families wanting to gather together. The recommendation is to not gather with people outside of your immediate household. That's tough. And if you are going to do that, to really be vigilant and careful. The recommendation is that you wear masks in those situations, that you open windows if possible, increase ventilation, limit your exposure, and as much as possible. And we're like everyone else in our family trying to figure that out. It doesn't look like we'll be gathering for Thanksgiving. We normally get together with family and extended family, 20 plus people. That's not going to happen this year. It doesn't look like the kids will be traveling home even at this point. And, that's discouraging. That's sad. You want to see your family, you want to see your friends, but we just need to stick it out a bit longer. I guess the good news was that progress on vaccine has been moving forward with the announcement of Pfizer, with the over 90% effective vaccine. Again, the logistics and distribution of that, this is going to take a while.
Yeah.
And so we just need to keep being careful.
In watching Dr. Fauci, he was saying that, and it is great news about the vaccine, but, in terms of, as you said, full distribution, even though the vaccine might be available starting in December, as early as starting in December, I'm not saying that's definite, but, probably, being fully available, still not until the spring, like April is what I heard him say. And so, this is the old, we're not out of the woods yet, to your point, and, we have to just stay the course. What else can we do? Deal with it day by day. And, but certainly for the small businesses, in your experience, Peter, do you think the phases in terms of is almost going to be in reverse the way that Cuomo's handling it now?
I do, Michael, and that's the way that I'm approaching it in terms of what the town's doing. And I mentioned this on Tuesday at our work session, that I envision if the numbers rise, that we'll step back in the same reverse order that we got to where we are now with all four phases being open. I think that's pretty much a template for how that will happen. We see the governors, kind of working along those lines as well, with restaurants now going back to curbside pickup only,
right,
of 10 p.m. Friday.
Yeah. All right. Well, switching to something else, there's been there was an article, an editorial in the East Hampton Star, and it was about the preservation. They call it the Preservation Fund in Waiting, and I'm certain that you read it, or maybe, yeah, I'm pretty sure you read it. But they were talking about how, because of the real estate boom and everybody, this is what the opinion was saying, migrating kind of out here to the East End, that the real estate market, and, I don't know all the details of that in terms of, where that money comes from and, how that generates more money for the Preservation Fund. But the point of the article was the fact that, East Hampton Town really, they felt could be doing more in terms of preserving land and pieces of land that might maybe bridge certain things. And, and I understand it's easy to write it and certainly not as if you guys haven't been busy over the last few months, but
Michael, it's easier to write it than it is to research it, apparently.
Okay, good.
We are pretty much on average in terms of purchases over the last 5 years.
I'm glad I asked that. Okay, good.
Yeah, and to your point, with so many land transfers, we're seeing a bump, a sizable bump in the amount of revenue that's coming into the Community Preservation Fund.
Okay.
I think August alone, we had $3.4 million come in. And, we've been very aggressive as long as I've been on the town board. Post-financial crisis, that administration and all that circulated around the misuse of CPF funds, they did not do a lot of purchases during that financial downtime. And that would have been a great time to be spending that money rather than just banking it. Because the prices were low, you try to buy low.
Right.
But we've done a really good job, I think, in terms of purchasing properties. It's been hundreds of acres. And, we're constantly working on negotiating deals. And sometimes it is a willing seller program. So unless you can reach agreement with the landowner over the price, and again, we can't pay more than appraised value, which we're in a market where we're seeing people actually paying considerably larger sums above appraised value.
Yeah.
The appraisals will catch up over time, but I think I'm hopeful that we'll be able to announce some major purchases in the coming weeks that we've been working on for some time, which will, I think, really show that we've been busy.
Well, that's good. That's good. I read the editorial. It's an editorial, which is an opinion. So I just thought it'd be a good thing to address it. Well, believe it or not, we're nearly out of time here, Peter. And we got about a minute left here. Is there anything you'd like to address in particular before we sign off?
Well, I just, on Tuesday, I mentioned that Wednesday was going to be Veterans Day, and that was a day which we really need to remember the sacrifices and service of all those in the military and of their families, too. I think sometimes it's overlooked, the amount of sacrifice the families of veterans, have, whether it's losing a loved one or just being there to support through difficult times. So, a huge debt of gratitude to our veterans. I did call my uncle, who was a fighter pilot in Vietnam. He's now reached the age of 90, and
wow,
spoke with him for a while. Caught up with him and see how he's doing in COVID. He's still getting out on the golf course a couple days a week. But that's the extent of his social life now, and that's So, yeah. But again, shout out to all our veterans and thank you for all of your service.
And I agree, and from all of us at LTV as well. And so I guess I'll see you